Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Following the time skip, Zoro reappeared with a scar over his right eye, which raised many questions about how he may have acquired it and if it has any use besides being something visual. The scar has given rise to possibilities that there might be something special about this hidden eye of his. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how Zoro managed to get this scar on his eye, and what Oda's justification was for giving this scar to Zoro after his training with Mihawk during the time skip. Before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, and even subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that old YouTube algorithm, and it keeps motivating us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, Zoro is an extremely skilled character, and is probably one of the most powerful swordsmen in the story of One Piece, second only to the most famous swordsman, Dracula Mihawk, Shanks, and maybe other extremely famous pirates that appeared in the past. Now, in order to reach the same level of skills as these other powerful swordsmen, Zoro has had to train a lot, and even ended up asking Mihawk to train him in order to surpass him in the future. During this grueling training, Zoro managed to improve not only his mastery with the sword, but he also managed to acquire an impressive new skills, which allowed him in the present to be able to deliver a blow that was capable of even cutting the durable Kaido, one of the most resistant and durable pirates in the world of One Piece. In this training, we saw that in addition to improving his use of the sword, Zoro also acquired a new look, with a scar over one of his eyes, leaving him with an even more impressive appearance, but somehow making it much more difficult for him to see. Now, Oda has already made it clear in an SBS why Zoro no longer has his right eye, where he just wanted to make the look of the character a bit more interesting and a bit more menacing. Now, losing one of his eyes really doesn't make a difference, since Zoro already has observation haki, which allows him to sense everything around him, and really works better than just his plain eyesight. An excellent example of this would of course be Admiral Fujitora, because even though he doesn't have his eyes because he cut them, he uses his observation haki to feel the environment around, making him an immensely powerful swordsman, even despite being blind, moving from his sense of sight to haki. Now, everyone knows that the person responsible for making the scar on Zoro's face was Mihawk during his training during the time skip. However, many don't know the reasons why Zoro had to resort to asking for training from his greatest rival. Throughout Zoro's journey, we've accompanied him and seen him constantly train to get stronger and improve his technique with swords. And he's also upgraded his weapons and acquired new techniques as he's pushed his limits ever forward. During the Wano arc, it was one of the most difficult moments for Zoro, but also the one that allowed him to acquire one of his best evolutions yet. It was when he had to earn the respect and allegiance of the Enma sword, and with that sword, he was finally able to land a big scar on Kaido's chest, and then later defeat his right-hand man, King the Wildfire. Now, all this constant evolution of Zoro's is really due to a singular dream, and that is to become the greatest swordsman in the world, currently the title that belongs to Dracula Mihawk, known as Hawkeye's Mihawk. This is a swordsman so powerful that even the world government and navy recognize his immense skill, being a much feared figure in the past for having been a hunter of marines. And it seems that Mihawk may have taken that mantle of marine hunter back up again with the creation of the Cross Guild, because Mihawk's level of swordsmanship and haki are incredible, being something impossible to surpass or even approach Mihawk's skill level. One of the reasons of Mihawk's immense power level is the fact that his old rival was none other than red-haired Shanks, and both of them fought for the title of greatest swordsman in the world. But once Shanks lost his arm to protect Luffy from the attack of the Sea King, Mihawk ended up winning the title by default because he couldn't see himself fighting against a one-armed swordsman. Now, at the beginning of Zoro's journey together with Luffy, his goal of defeating Mihawk was already clear in his mind, but it only took one chance to finally confront him, and then he could claim the title for himself. This very opportunity happened in the Baratier arc. This opportunity arose when he faced Mihawk and he tried to get the title for him. However, Zoro did not realize the great abyss of skill that existed between them. Mihawk, with only a tiny blade, managed to break both of Zoro's swords, in addition to managing to pierce his chest with the very same blade. However, upon realizing that this young swordsman that was in front of him had great potential, Mihawk decided to spare his life and give him a scar on his body, which would make Zoro never forget this confrontation. After defeating Zoro, Mihawk left left, leaving Zoro lying on the ground and crying, promising his captain that he would never be defeated again, and that he would indeed become the greatest swordsman in the world. Since that moment, Zoro started training to reach the same level as Mihawk, and during the Sabaody Archipelago arc, every Straw Hat was sent to a different location through the power of Kuma's pawpaw fruit. With a nearly unbelievable level of insight, Kuma ended up sending Zoro to Kuragana Island, which was Mihawk's home. Now, after he explored the island initially together with Perona, who also seemed to live on the island, Zoro finds Mihawk, but this time he didn't intend to face off against the greatest swordsman in the world. Zoro understood and knew that huge difference in power that existed between them, and he knew that he would easily lose if he tried to confront him again. Besides, he had just been shaken by not being able to help his crew defeat Admiral Kizaru, or even Kuma for that matter. So in an act that was really rather surprising for Zoro, he decided to ask Mihawk for training. The greatest swordsman in the world agreed to train him, but before he could even start, he said that it wouldn't be easy. However, Zoro already knew that, but he still wanted to become stronger so he could protect his crew and also help his captain Luffy become king of the pirates. So Zoro spent the next 2 years training with Mihawk, going through various difficulties to be able to better learn to use his sword in combat, as well as learn the main fundamentals of Haki, learning armament Haki and observation Haki to further expand his abilities as a swordsman, as well as allowing him to be able to face off against Logia users just like Kizaru. Because of all of this advanced level stuff, Zoro's training was quite complicated, and Mihawk made Zoro reach his limit multiple times, just so his body could become more resistant, faster, and stronger, reaching the limit beyond a simple human being. And the training Mihawk provided also left Zoro very close to losing his life, depleting his energy completely. But even so, Zoro never gave up. At the beginning of his training, Zoro had to face several small monkeys that had great masteries in swords, and these monkeys were able to make Zoro to have to strive to win against them. This was all so he could prepare to finally cross blades with Mihawk, because even then, he just wasn't ready to deal with the power level that Mihawk had. But once Zoro started to evolve in his training, Mihawk began to use great apes to confront him. The great apes were much more experienced in the use of swords, in addition to having a kind of yoru similar to Mihawk's blade, but it was still white and didn't have the same durability and sharpness as the original yoru. After being able to learn to use his Haki and improve his sword skills a bit, Zoro was finally ready to train directly with Mihawk. But even in their several battles, Mihawk still had to restrain himself so he didn't take Zoro's life. And in these training battles, Mihawk still managed to injure Zoro several times, causing minor injuries to his body over the 2 years, but nothing that would actually cause a mark or a scar on his body, at least at the beginning. However, at some point during their training, Mihawk ended up cutting out one of Zoro's eyes, something that is crucial for a swordsman, as they need to be able to keep an eye on their surroundings in order to find a way to defeat their opponents. But because Mihawk taught Zoro to use observation Haki, that lack of vision in one eye didn't affect Zoro's performance as a swordsman that much. It made him become much more aware of his surroundings because he no longer had his wide range of vision. This had a very positive effect that made his remaining eye even more sharp and much more noticeable to his opponent's quick movements, making that eye of his more than good enough to see the basic things. So as we can see, although Zoro's missing eye doesn't necessarily have a bigger purpose, such as an eye power or possibly a place where he hides the demon Ashura, it's just something that made Zoro's vision sharper and also gives him a much cooler and more dashing look, because this cut became much more remarkable because it was made by his biggest rival in the world, where he'll never ever forget those 2 years of training, allowing Zoro to become even stronger so that one day he will defeat him and surpass him and truly earn that title of greatest swordsman in the world. So with all that said, my friends, we'd now love to know what you think about it. Where are you on this idea that Zoro still might be hiding some kind of secret behind his eye? There's been a lot of discussion in the community about that, maybe where he's storing some hidden power, or perhaps has a pupil just like Mihawk's eye, like some kind of Hawkeye change, or something where the demon Ashura lives inside. Or is it, as Oda professes, it's just something to make him look a little cooler and a little more roguish? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video for the day, we'd like to thank you all so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.